Welcome to another episode of This Week in Plymouth. I'm your host, Derek Brindisi. Today's segment, we have two guests with us here today, both Sjostedt and Jan Bridge. Both serve on the board for Project Arts, correct?
Correct.
So thank you both for coming today. I really appreciate it. I know that this is a conversation that you wanted to have with the town and let folks know things are happening for the Night for Mike, which is a special night for Mike Landers, who's done so much for this community throughout the decades, right? I've had a chance to get to know Mike in my first year here in town, and just having gone down to the summer concert series and had the experience of what he's been able to put together, I think he's just one of those guys here in town that has done so much for the community. So it's great that the board is putting together this night for him. But John, I wanted to start with you to talk a little bit about Project Arts and the things that Project Arts has been doing for the community. In particular, what role Mike Landers has played for Project Arts.
Mike Landers' role is the face of Project Arts. It takes an amazing team of people that, under his direction and leadership and experience over the years, to put together for the past 27 years what the community has enjoyed. 27 years ago, Mike and a couple of friends, over a cup of coffee, maybe a beer, not sure what it was, not sure what was in the coffee cups,
Right.
Came up with this idea of Project Arts, and it's just taken off from there over the years. With their knowledge and what they've put together, I estimated it the other day at over 200,000 people over the last 27 years have come out to the Plymouth waterfront to enjoy free concerts. It's a privilege and honor to serve on the board and to work with a family, because that's what we are.
Right.
Again, you see Mike Landers and you see Project Arts, but it's a family, group family on the committee that's working together to bring the show year after year to the residents of Plymouth and surrounding communities and the guests and tourists that come to the town.
Yeah, no, again, this is my first year back. It'll actually be officially a year today. And I've been able to relocate in the downtown area. And so my wife and I spent a lot of time downtown. And, this past summer was great. There were reggae bands there. There was some really great shows there. And I couldn't believe that they were free. So every time I hear about the free concert series, I always hear Mike's name come up. And again, going back to the night, we'll talk a little bit about this night for Mike. Can you kind of describe, why we're having this event for Mike Landers?
Sure. The night for Mike is because, unfortunately, Mike had a medical setback. He had a stroke back in October.
Right.
And one of the most serious strokes that a person can have. And his family has endured countless medical bills, expenses, both medical and personal life, from having to travel to be with him, having to redo his house in order to welcome him home. Just countless bills that have come their way that they didn't expect, and we're bringing this night for Mike to help the family with some of those costs that they've endured.
Great. Yeah, that's great. You bring up the joke about Mike getting together with his friends and maybe over a cup of coffee or a beer. And again, I haven't had the opportunity to really get to know Mike, but Mike and I started to get to know and build a relationship, whether we were talking about COPC or some of the things that are happening, because he was the vice chair of COPC this previous year, or just talking about some of the things that he needed assistance from the town. And one of the last text messages him and I exchanged was the day, on the evening of the fall town meeting. And his last message he sent to me, he's like, "Go home and relax and have a beer." So, I always assumed him and I would follow up and probably have a beer together at some point. So
You will.
Yeah, good. And I hope that's really good news. So, Jen, just switching over, can you want to kind of describe to the folks at home what the Night for Mike is really all about?
Sure. Our mission is to have a night of dancing, fun. We're going to have raffles. We're going to have silent auction raffles. We're having bands every 20 minutes come up on stage and jam. Mike was a great person that would love to just hop up on the stage and jam. So we're going to do that. We're going to have a Plinko board. We have Maureen Hurley, who is a nationally televised comedian locally from Plymouth. She's going to be our MC. We have our famous 50-50 raffle, just under $1 million. We're going to have a Plinko board where it's similar to The Price is Right, where you buy a couple balls, it drops through, and you win prizes. Julie Brewster and her Brews and Chips will be there serving beverages. We'll have dancing. What else? What do I have? Tickets. Tickets are on our website. Email.
So
want
let
me
me,
to give
if
you
I could
the-
ask you,
Sure.
so the event is going to be on March 31st, I think?
Yes, sorry. March 31st from 6 to 11 at Memorial
At
Hall.
Memorial Hall. Okay, so
Right.
it's a 5-hour event. And so can you just go there, or should you purchase a ticket in advance? What should folks do?
Both. You can go to our website, which is Project Arts, www.projectarts.com. Tickets are $30. Click on the link, and the Phil is helping us with their link.
Oh, okay.
So they set up a link on our site, or you can get tickets at the door, and tickets are $30.
$30 at the door, or go online.
Or go
you can purchase
online.
them in advance. Okay.
Or contact me, or contact anybody on the committee.
And if somebody didn't have access to the website and they wanted to call either you or John, how could they get in touch with you?
They can call me at 508-423-1735 or 508-746-5050.
Great. So that's great. So getting back to the night itself, so it sounds like there's a lot of things going to happen. It sounds like it's going to be a great time, actually. And so it's going to last about 5 hours at Memorial Hall. What else can we expect that evening?
We have a lot of local businesses donating food, so we're going to have light hors d'oeuvres, dancing, we're hoping,
Silent auction.
silent auction. We're also going to have a live auction. The Phil has donated a table for $1,000 at their holiday concert, so we hope we'll raise some money from that. Plymouth Fireplace has donated a fire pit. We have local artists that have donated their artwork. Jaffrey has donated a spar kit. Wood Seafood has donated 4 baked stuffed lobsters, 2 quarts of clam chowder, and a pound of cocktail shrimp. So
all part of the silent auction.
that's all part of the silent auction. Then we'll have gift cards to local restaurants that will just be buy a raffle ticket, stick it in the bucket, we'll pull a ticket, and you win.
That's great. And that's the night before town meeting, too. So.
It's the night before town meeting, and it's also the last day of free parking.
Oh, so well planned.
And we've secured St. Peter's parking lot. They've said that it's okay for us to park there.
Great.
So people will have places to park for free.
Now, is Mike able to attend this event?
We're hoping he will. I don't know.
No guarantee.
Yeah.
But
If he
We're
can.
hoping.
if he can, he's going to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
It would most likely be for a short time, but the goal is to get him there if we can, and if we can't, that's okay too. But
Yeah.
we're going to do everything that we can.
That's great. That's
Yep.
really good. So the website, because I don't know, I want to make sure we
Okay.
get the website down, and I know that we can probably scroll this across the screen.
Sure. It's www.projectarts.com, or you can email us at projectartsplymouth, all one word, @gmail.com, or you can mail in a check. We'll get you some tickets to Project Arts, Post Office Box 790 in Plymouth, 02361.
That's great. All right, so make sure we get that information out, and this will be broadcast throughout the next few weeks, so folks can see this. So there's one more way to get this information out. You know, when I think of Mike, you know, I think of all the great events the town of Plymouth has. You know, you have a great, wonderful 4th of July event, and the team behind that 4th of July event that organizes that. And then we have a great Thanksgiving Day parade, and the team that organizes that. And then you think of the Waterfront Festival and the Chamber, how they organize that. The Summer Concert Series is just like that,
It
you know.
is.
And you know, I know it's the board, but I think really Mike is the driving force behind that. And so when you look at all these different great events, there are key people that stick out, amongst the crowd. And I think Mike is one of those individuals.
He's basically the one that books all the bands for the summer concerts. Our sound guy, Ed McGee, stepped up to help us book the bands for this event. So at last, it was, 7 or 8 bands every 20 minutes.
And I'm sure it was an easy ask. When you told the bands that this was for Mike, I'm sure it was easy for them to say yes.
I can tell you on behalf of the committee, the second this happened, people started coming out of the woodwork to help. The generosity of businesses, people that have been coming to the concerts, people that have been performing along with Mike, it's been nonstop. It's the most wonderful thing to see.
That's great.
And he's instrumental. He started the open mic at the Sandcastles at Pilgrim Sands Motel on Tuesday night, just to get business
Really?
to that lounge. And they're continuing without him. They're continuing having people with open mic every Tuesday night. So he's an accolade. He's an icon in Plymouth, that's for sure.
Great. Absolutely. So before we break, is there anything else you want to add before we break?
Our summer concerts are coming up.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Let's talk about that.
So our bands are booked for that, though they're going to be released shortly. And at our summer concerts, those are 6:30 to 9:15, free. You bring a lawn chair, bring your cooler, your red Solo cup. We have 5 food trucks. And we also give out 2 scholarships.
And how many concerts are this year?
10.
10 concerts.
Starting
Wow, that's
the last Thursday in June up until Wednesday, the last Wednesday in June up till the Wednesday before Labor Day.
okay, so
then
basically
our rain
September
date-
through June through September, every Wednesday.
And our rain date, we have Memorial Hall has offered to host us there if we have to cancel.
Right.
And then we give out 2 scholarships every year, one to Plymouth North, one to Plymouth South, not necessarily to students following their career in music, but following their career in the arts. So we're very proud to be able to do that with the money that we raise.
Now, where have you already secured the bands for those 10 events?
Yes.
Oh, you have.
We haven't released them
You haven't.
yet.
Okay, that was my next question. So
Yeah,
you haven't
that-
released it yet. So
right.
this is still top secret at this point.
Yes,
Okay,
it is.
Good.
We just have to sign contracts.
Yeah.
Right.
As soon as the
Good.
contracts are signed and returned, we can make it official.
Sure. So we're looking forward to June through early September.
Beginning of September.
Beginning of September.
Yeah.
That'll be great.
At the free summer concerts, you'll see our people in green out there selling 50/50 raffle tickets, and under the tent, of course. There's a lot of costs that go along with the summer concert series. So we do a lot of fundraising before. Mike, when he had his stroke, was actually writing a grant for the summer concert series. At that time, he was at his computer when they found him.
Really.
And he was writing a grant to raise funds for the summer concert series. There's the cost of the bands, the cost of the sound, the cost of using the park, the rangers that patrol the park. There's
Environmental police.
there's an absurd number of things that come with a cost for providing the service. So when you see us out there doing the 50/50 raffle and things like that, all that money is going to the cost of what it takes to put it on.
That's really important to know because again, I've been down there and I've seen folks walk around and I didn't realize that was the purpose. You're fundraising for this concert. Nothing is free, although we call it free. It's really not free.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of work that goes behind it to make all that happen. So
A lot of grant writing too. So I know the Visitors Service Bureau helps us out a lot. We have to go in front of their board. And then Mike writes a lot of grants.
Sure.
Lots of grants.
good. Well, again, Mike's done so much for this community. This is the least we can do is come out for him on March 31st at 6 to 11 p.m. at Memorial Hall. Lots of music, raffles, and other fun events. So for you folks at home, hopefully you can make it to Memorial Hall to support Mike in his recovery. And again, Mike is the guy who's going to organize our concert series moving forward. So we want to get him back. And we want him to be here not only for the community, but for his family as well. So
Right.
we're all rooting for Mike.
On behalf of Project Arts and the board and committee, we just want to thank PAC TV. We've been here multiple times, and you guys just opened your hearts up to us, and we're so appreciative. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody, for your time and help with this.
Just get the word out.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you both for coming in, and I'll see you on Friday, March 31st.
All right.
All
Great.
right?
Thanks.
Everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. I would like to spend a few minutes talking about some of the items that the Select Board and myself spoke of at our previous meeting on Tuesday night. Three of these issues I'm bringing to your attention because they're high priorities. Some of them you already are probably tracking in them throughout the local media. And the first item I'd like to discuss today is the Water Street Sewer Interceptor Project. This is the project that you may have heard all of last week that we had a number of problems in the area of the construction zone where we had to vacate a number of the surrounding businesses and even some of the residential buildings down there. And so I'm here today just to explain what had transpired. So we were alerted on Monday morning that some of the ground may have shifted in the area due to construction, possibly due to some rain events and the water moving the soil underneath those buildings in that area. What we found once the fire chief, Chief Foley, and our building commissioner, Nick Mayo, were deployed to the area, they found that there were a few buildings, I think 4 in total, had severe cracking in the foundations. Again, very close to the construction zone. So because of the risk that was posed to those structures, we all agreed, both the resident engineer, our Department of Public Works, and our public safety officials, that it was best to have those buildings evacuated for safety reasons so that we can conduct a further evaluation of the area. A further evaluation was conducted a few days later on Friday. We hired a consultant firm who conducted what is known as ground penetrating radar. And this GPR process looks for possible sinkholes in the area of the construction. It goes approximately 12 feet deep. And so what we're looking for to see if there are any crevices, any areas that there may be voids. And these, if there were voids in the soil, it could pose a significant risk to the area. So after about 6 hours of conducting this GPR in the area, we found no possible sinkholes and no crevices that would pose any additional risk. However, we do know that some of these foundations are cracked. So having engineers, structural engineers, look at those buildings in conjunction with this GPR, we were able to safely recommend that those buildings are reoccupied. And they were reoccupied that Friday afternoon. Since then, we've still have conducted various other types of testing, such as soil testings and borings, just to continue to monitor the area for any shift in soil or anything else that may have happened underground. The project has restarted as of last Friday and continues to move forward with a potential June 1st ending date. We will continue to keep the community apprised of what's happening in the area. We're hopeful that we can complete this project. This project is one of our top projects for public works projects probably in the last few years, given the fact that we are removing the sewer main from the harbor and relocating it into the street. Although it's a complicated project, this project is going to prove its worth and its dividends in years to come, given the environmental risk having a sewer main in the harbor poses. So moving on to my next update, there was a lengthy discussion last night with the Select Board and with members of the Community Preservation Committee to talk about the various structures that have gone unused over the past few years. There are a number of cabins over at Hedges Pond. Hedges Pond, as you know, is one of our recreation areas here in town. It's located in the southern part of town. It's a beautiful area. If you haven't attended, you should definitely attend. So we talked last night about these 4 cabins and then the Great Hall that are located in this area. There are folks in the community that would love to preserve these 4 cabins. While I thought it was very important to talk about this today is because structurally these 4 cabins are really in a in a difficult, unsafe, and dilapidated condition. And for public safety reasons, our fire chief and our building commissioner have recommended that those 4 cabins be torn down. Again, there are some that believe that there's a historic significance to these cabins, and we'd love to have them preserved for future use. So I guess when you look at it in public safety and historical value, there may have been a way to preserve these until we found out this past week that these cabins are contaminated and tested positive for lead. And as you know, lead has been used in paint since up to the 1972 time period. After that, lead was taken out of paint. But a lot of the older structures, certainly in Plymouth and in the northeast of this part of the U.S., have lead paint because the structures are so old. When we tested these cabins, we found that these cabins were positive for lead paint, something that can be remediated. It's very common to remediate lead paint in residential dwelling units. But in this situation, what we found was that the lead paint that is inside and outside of these buildings is actually leaching from the building and into the soil. And because it's leaching and it's not able to be encapsulated, these buildings are now considered hazardous materials. So much to the point where if we were to remove these buildings, there's not even a landfill in the state of Massachusetts that would accept this type of material. So we'd actually have to demo these 4 cabins and then transport them to a landfill in New Hampshire. As you can tell, this will be quite costly given that they're positive for lead, and they'd have to be transported a much further distance than we originally anticipated. So what I reported to the board last night, that although at the time when we first started discussing these, we knew they pose a significant public safety risk, but now that we know that they're contaminated with lead, they now pose a significant public health risk. And so I wanted folks to be aware that if these buildings do come down, I suspect that they will come down, that those are the reasons that the administration is recommending those 4 cabins be taken down. And that brings us into question of the Great Hall. The Great Hall is of similar era as the cabins. Looks like it has similar construction and probably similar paint. We suspect that it probably will be positive for lead as well. This structure is not in poor conditions as far as the soundness of the structure, unlike the other cabins, which are in difficult and deplorable conditions. So more to come on the final outcome of the Great Hall, but we're still waiting for results for that structure as far as whether or not it has any other hazardous materials, whether it be asbestos or lead. So more to come on the Hedges Pond structures. In addition to that, there's a structure over at Stevens Field. It was used as an old comfort station for periods of time at Stevens Field. This is a structure that is also slated to be removed as well as part of the Stevens Field renovation project. Again, this is a structure that some folks believe that should be preserved for its historic value. Our administration had gone to the Historic Commission to seek approval to demolish the building. At the time, the Historic Commission voted not to impose a demolition delay and to allow for its demolition. And from what I understand, the reason for allowing its demolition is they believe it had no historic value. Again, I bring this up because there are some folks in the community that believe that this structure should be saved for historic value, but I just want folks to be aware that the Historic Commission did not believe it had historic significance and did not take any action on the administration's pursuit of demolishing that building. So unfortunately, these are some of the older structures here in town, and for those reasons I have stated, we do intend to remove those buildings from the existing sites. And then the last thing I'd like to bring up is something that came up at our October town meeting. At the October town meeting, we sought special legislation to increase parking fines for those folks that illegally park in districts, parking districts that require beach stickers. Right now in town, we only have one parking district that requires a beach sticker, and that is the White Horse Beach Parking District. Last year, because of the enormity of the number of folks that had illegally parked, there were approximately $50,000 worth of citations that were issued last year. And even with that high volume of citations being issued, we still had folks illegally parking. It was the board's intent, and had gone to town meeting, to seek that legislation to allow us to increase our parking fines, which are now at $50 for a one day's illegal parking event, and then propose to increase those fines to $100 per illegal parking event. So at our board meeting last night, there was a recommendation that was made to the select board to increase parking fines at the White Horse Beach Parking District from $50 to $100. The whole goal is to try to mitigate and prevent as much illegal parking in that district. It's a residential area, certainly it's a recreation area, but there's a balance between recreation and quality of life, and that's the balance we're trying to strike. And we're hoping that the increase in fines will be a deterrent enough to try to maintain that quality of life for the residents that live in the area, but at the same time provide the proper access to White Horse Beach. So those are the recommendations that were made last night to the board, and they took action with unanimous approval. So I thank you all for giving me the time to give you some quick updates as to our previous select board meeting.